politician went on live television and confessed to running a death squad. Not alleged, not accused. He said it himself. "I had a death squad. If you don't kill them, I will kill you now." And then something even stranger happened. The people in the room started cheering. Not laughing, not shocked. Cheering. This wasn't a criminal. This was a politician. That man was Rodrigo Duterte, former president of the Philippines, mayor of its third largest city for over 2 decades. A man who spent 30 years building a reputation for one specific thing, and never once tried to hide it. He didn't just order the killings. He talked about them on television. He joked about them in speeches. He bragged about them at rallies. And then, his country elected him president, after he said all of it out loud. This is the story of how one man turned murder into a political brand, and why it took the entire world 30 years to do anything about it. To understand Duterte, you have to start in Davao City, a port city in the south of the Philippines, 1,000 miles from the capital Manila, and in the 1980s, effectively ungovernable. Back then, Davao was a war zone. Communist insurgents controlled the hills. Criminal gangs controlled the streets. The murder rate was so high that locals stopped counting. If you walked into a Davao police station and reported a crime, the officer would look at you like you'd said something naive. Rodrigo Duterte wasn't an outsider. He came from power. His father had been a governor. He went to law school, became a prosecutor, and in 1988, at 43 years old, he became mayor. Davao was ungovernable. Everyone said so. Duterte disagreed. He didn't try to fix the system. He replaced it with something simpler. Kill them. No trial, no process, no appeal. Not officially, not on paper. But there were men in Davao. Men who worked for the city. Men who answered to him. Who began appearing at the homes of suspected criminals late at night. The visits were not social calls. Sometimes neighbors heard the gunshots. Sometimes they didn't. Either way, the body was always there in the morning. Sometimes dumped on roadsides. Sometimes floating in the river. Sometimes with a cardboard sign around their neck. Drug pusher. Do not copy. The killings became known as the work of the Davao Death Squad, DDS for short, an unofficial network of hitmen operating in the shadows of the city government, accountable to no court, no law, and apparently no one except the mayor himself. And this is where the story gets dark in a way that most people don't know about. The victims weren't always criminals. One of the youngest ever documented was 12 years old, a street child, accused of petty theft. No trial, no arrest, no one to speak for him, just a body on a Davao sidewalk, and a city that had already decided he didn't matter. That 12-year-old had a name. He had a family. Someone decided none of that mattered. He was one of over 1,000. Duterte never officially admitted to running the death squads. Not yet. But he didn't deny it either. In 2005, at a crime summit in Manila, he stood at a podium in front of government officials from across the country and said, "Summary execution of criminals remains the most effective way to crush kidnapping and illegal drugs." He said this at an official government event. And then he went home to Davao, and the killings continued. By the mid-2000s, human rights groups had documented between 700 and 1,000 people executed in under a decade. Journalists who investigated the killings were added to the list. UN special rapporteurs visited and left alarmed. The Catholic Church protested. International organizations issued reports. None of it stopped him, because Duterte had discovered something most politicians never admit out loud. Fear works, and the people who live in fear, they don't just tolerate a man like Duterte, they love him. By the 2000s, Duterte wasn't just a mayor anymore. He was a myth. He'd been re-elected so many times, they'd had to change the rules. There was a term limit, so he'd hand power to his daughter for one term, wait, then take it back, The voters kept returning him because Davao kept working. The streets felt safer. Businesses opened. Tourists came. Nobody asked too hard about the bodies. And Duterte, he leaned into it. He understood that in a country exhausted by polished, corrupt, do-nothing politicians, the crudeness was the point. He cursed at rallies. He made crude jokes about women. He threatened criminals on live television. He wasn't hiding what he would do. He was advertising it. And people didn't run from it. They voted for it. He told one interviewer that if he became president, he would kill so many drug suspects that the fish in Manila Bay would grow fat eating the bodies. People laughed. People shared it. It went viral. In 2015, Duterte announced he was running for president. The establishment laughed at him. He was a provincial mayor who cursed too much, made too many dark jokes, had no national party machine, no donor network, no polished campaign team. He won by a landslide. In May 2016, Rodrigo Duterte became the 16th president of the Philippines. And then the mask came off. Not because he started hiding what he'd always done, but because he stopped pretending there was a mask at all. On his first night in office, he gave a speech. He told law enforcement, anyone who kills drug suspects will receive full backing from the presidential palace. He told drug dealers to surrender immediately, or I will kill you. This was not a metaphor. Within 6 months of taking office, thousands were already dead. Not years, months. And it didn't slow down. Official police records counted 6,000 killed in drug war operations. Human rights groups said the real number was closer to 30,000 because they were counting the extrajudicial killings too. The unofficial executions, the men dragged from their homes at night, the motorcycle-riding gunmen who left bodies on the sidewalks of Manila with notes. Pusher, patay na, pusher, already dead. He was killing people at a rate that hadn't been seen in Southeast Asia since the worst years of military dictatorship. And his approval rating stayed above 80%. Here is the thing that is hardest to explain to anyone who didn't live it. Duterte wasn't just tolerated. He was celebrated. His supporters wore t-shirts. They made memes. They called him Tatay Digong, Father Digong, a term of affection, like he was a beloved uncle who happened to order mass killings. Because for millions of Filipinos, poor Filipinos in particular, the drug epidemic was real. It had eaten their communities, their children, their neighbors, and for decades, polished politicians had promised to fix it and done nothing. Duterte fixed it, or at least that's what people believed. Some guilty, some not. Was a price those supporters were willing to accept. But there was a detail buried deep inside the operation that most of his supporters either didn't know or chose not to know. The death squads operated a reward system, not just in Davao, nationally. Officers were paid per body, not per arrest, per body. A former police officer would later testify about this on national television, weeping as she described how the system worked. 15,000 pesos, about $250. That was the price of a human life, cheaper than a smartphone. And the evidence, suppressed for years, then slowly leaking out through testimony after testimony, showed something even worse. The victims weren't always who the police said they were. Officers who needed to make quota would plant drugs on the bodies afterward, stage the scene to look like self-defense. The International Criminal Court, the ICC, a global tribunal based in The Hague that prosecutes crimes against humanity, would later show CCTV footage of DDS members killing 3 men in broad daylight, and immediately planting evidence on the bodies before leaving the scene without any fear of consequences at all. The death squads weren't precision instruments. They were blunt, brutal, cheap, and the people at the top knew exactly what they were. In a world like this, privacy matters. If you want the best deal on NordVPN, there's a link in the description. The International Criminal Court began its investigation into Duterte in 2021. He wasn't worried, or at least, he performed not being worried. He had already pulled the Philippines out of the ICC in 2019, 1 month after the investigation opened, claiming the court had no jurisdiction over him. He gave speeches calling the ICC irrelevant. He dared them to come and get him. Then, he left office in 2022. Without the protection of the presidency, Duterte's situation changed. Slowly at first, then all at once. His political allies began to fracture. His daughter Sarah, who had been elected vice president on a ticket with the new president, began publicly distancing herself from him. Witnesses who had stayed silent for years started talking. In October 2024, Duterte agreed to testify before a House committee investigating the drug war. What happened next was extraordinary. He sat down, he looked at the cameras, and he confirmed, on the record, under oath, almost everything his critics had ever accused him of. Not leaked, not exposed. He said it himself. He admitted running the Davao Death Squad. He confirmed his instructions to police were to encourage suspects to draw their weapons, so officers could claim self-defense while killing them. He admitted personally killing people when he was mayor, claiming they were criminals who deserved it. And then he shrugged. "Do not question my policies," he said. "I offer no apologies, no excuses. I did what I had to do." His supporters in the gallery applauded. The families of the dead sat outside the building, holding photographs of their children. 3 months later, on March 11, 2025, Rodrigo Duterte landed at Manila's international airport on a flight from Hong Kong. He had been traveling. He knew an ICC warrant was circulating. On the flight, he had told the people around him, "They've been after me for a long time." He landed anyway. When the plane touched down, they were already waiting for him. Interpol. No speech, no warning, just handcuffs. He didn't fight it. He was arrested on the tarmac. He was put on a plane to the Netherlands that same night. His daughter stood outside the Hague prison and told reporters he would be fine. He was 79 years old. He was wearing a casual short-sleeved shirt. He looked, for the first time, like a small man. April 2026. The International Criminal Court has confirmed all charges against Rodrigo Duterte. 3 counts of crimes against humanity, murder and attempted murder. At minimum 76 individual killings directly tied to his command. The court has committed him to trial. He is sitting in a prison in Scheveningen, Netherlands, right now. And then something happened that makes everything else in this story feel small. While he was sitting in that cell, the people of Davao City held a mayoral election. He was on the ballot, accused of crimes against humanity, detained in another country, awaiting trial. He won, after everything, by a landslide, from prison, from another continent. Supporters gathered outside the detention facility in The Hague and chanted his name through the fence. 30 years of death squads, 30,000 dead, a confession on national television, an ICC arrest. Charges confirmed. He won. The families of the dead are still waiting for a verdict. And in Davao, the city where it all began, they already gave theirs. The court will decide what he is. Davao already has. And if you want to understand the man who helped build the machine that made Duterte possible, subscribe. Because what China's most feared police chief did in secret makes this look restrained. That's next.